Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. If you're new here, I'm thrilled that you found us. Let me do a quick intro in case we've never met. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a yoga teacher, mom of three, entrepreneur, and forever curious student. This podcast is recorded on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. At the podcast, we are committed to truth and reconciliation by acknowledging what happened to Indigenous people because of colonization, and we're also committed to reconciliation, which begins with each and every one of us. It's taken me a little bit to get to the place where I see how connected this is with everything, including yoga. We have some podcasts on that. If you want to go back and have a listen, just search for Land Acknowledgement on the Connected Yoga Teacher website, and you'll hear how I learned and made mistakes along the way. This podcast was created because I get what it feels like to be out in the jungles of teaching yoga and running a business and navigating the world that we're all living in right now, which feels very messy, especially if you live in North America right now. I'm a Canadian watching what's happening in the US and feeling the effects of it as well. Talking with a lot of US and Canadian yoga teachers, and yoga teachers from all over the world are also feeling just what's going on in the world. So it's a lot. And I wanted all yoga teachers to have access to ideas, resources, and a supportive community. And it's a free resource as well. So you can listen on the go while you're busy. You can share it with other yoga teachers. We have really in-depth show notes as well that we create. That's over on our website. For this episode, it's theconnectedyogateacher.com/393. And you can click on timestamps and go back and get information on each and every topic. I can see people wanting to do that with this episode. And speaking of today's episode, I'm so glad you're here as Michael J. and I chat about how to open a yoga studio. We have a lot of questions on this that come in all the time, whether you're thinking about opening an in-home yoga studio, an online yoga studio, or one, that really is a community hub where lots of teachers are teaching from. This episode is for you. There's also some nuggets in here, even if you're like, I don't plan on opening a yoga studio. I love how Michael gets right into some real nitty-gritty business chat today. So Michael J. has become a good friend this year. He's also known as the Yoga Biz Champ. He has over 26 years in the yoga world, from teaching yoga to running a successful studio. And he now focuses in on, this is his niche, I love that he's niched down, helping yoga studio owners thrive, building a profitable business. We dive into everything from studio ownership and pricing strategies to marketing and community building. I love that we get to talk about that today as well. So if you're looking at how can I make my yoga business more sustainable, this episode is for you. Today's episode is also powered by OfferingTree, and I'm smiling as I say this because you're going to hear how Michael and I just started talking about OfferingTree in the intro of this episode. So we both use and love this software in our own businesses. It automates everything: bookings, payments, Zoom links, reminders, and so much more. And if you are listening to this podcast, we have a special discount code for you over at OfferingTree.com/Shannon. If you feel like, I want to check this out. There's also a 14-day free trial. So do that first and then tell them that you want our special Connected Yoga Teacher discount code. Alrighty, let's get into today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about all things yoga business and yoga studio, what it takes to start and grow a studio, how Michael sold his own studio to a yoga teacher, the key ingredients for financial stability. We also talk about why ClassPasses can be really tough on studios, especially financially, how a registered signature series can be a game changer, and the best pricing model. I'm so excited that you get to listen into this. Plus, we get into marketing, community building, and why planning ahead is so important. Michael has such a wealth of knowledge, and this chat is packed with practical advice. So whether you own a studio, you're dreaming of opening one, or you just want to tweak a few things in your own yoga business so that it's more sustainable, we've got you covered today. Alrighty, let's dive in and meet Michael J. Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast, Michael. It is so great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I'm excited to be here. You're my neighbor on the other side of the country.
Yeah, it just takes me like 3 or 4 hours to fly to your side of the country. But yeah, we are definitely neighbors.
Yeah, we represent the country from one side to the other.
I am super excited that we get to talk about the yoga teacher who is dreaming about opening a yoga studio. I don't think we've ever covered this in an entire podcast episode. But before we do that, tell our listeners what's the work that you do? Who do you do it for? And like, how did you get started with this?
How far do you want to go back? Well, what I do is I do full-time, I'm business consulting for yoga studios. So two kind of packages I would say I work in. There's the yoga teacher or the investor starting a yoga studio. So I help them with a really good promotion founders offer marketing plan to open well and all the pieces. And then my other ones are existing studio owners that want to get the systems in place to give them more freedom, or B, are struggling and need help doing the detective work to try and maybe reset the button, especially post-COVID. So that's what I do on a daily basis. So I meet with yoga studio owners and potential yoga studio owners all day long. My journey, how far do you want to go back to? 7 years old?
Yeah, let's start there.
So born in Canada, raised in England. So I was living in England, but my hippie mom was in Canada. So I came every single year for the 6 weeks of the summer holidays, from rules and regulations and school uniform and strictness in the UK to having complete freedom on a hippie farm in Nova Scotia. And so my mom did yoga, and so I think back then it was Kareen, what's her name, the CBC. There was a CBC yoga show that my mom did. What's her name? I think I've got it here. Kareen Zebroff. And so that was a big thing in the 70s. Was Ms. Magazine yoga, and CBC TV was a big influence on my mom. So, and as a hippie, I played yoga with my mom. And so that became my, my look at me at parties, doing lotus pose and hands on the floor, hovering off the floor. So, and then, so that was kind of my foundation in yoga, was with my mom. And then funnily enough, she was my reconnection to it as an adult, in BC. And she lived on a Gulf island, Pender Island in British Columbia, so another hippie island, perfect for her. And she invited me to the Salt Spring Yoga Retreat Center. And so I went there and threw myself into, again, another great hippie environment. And I came out of there going, I got to get some of I need more of this. And it was like this really, this is part of me. It was like coming home. And so I came back I lived in Ladner, British Columbia, on the outskirts of Vancouver. And I came back and I started looking for yoga. So I was going to the rec centers and I wasn't quite finding that thing that hit me at the retreat center, until a new yoga center opened exactly 1 block away from my house. It was called Delta Yoga Center. And I started going there, and it was Ashtanga yoga. It's a very intense doorway into the practice. And I just loved it. I loved how it made me feel. I wanted more of it. And so I started asking a lot of questions. I also, by the way, I was a designer by trade. So marketing was my background, and I'm a trained graphic designer and marketer. And so at the time, websites were just becoming popular for businesses, and I was on top of all that. And so I started doing Delta Yoga Center's first website with a schedule and everything, and I did that for trade in my classes. So I got to go intensively. And I was asking so many questions. I was like, can you please say all the names in Sanskrit? Put a lot of pressure on it. She was just like, Michael, will you just take the teacher training?
Right.
And I had zero, in fact, I had the biggest fear of public speaking. I still do in some ways, which is kind of weird. I'm on a podcast and was an instructor, but like I have a lot of anxieties about public speaking. And so I was like, that is, so I just did it for the wanting to deepen my practice. And so I took the teacher training, and Vancouver was a very vibrant yoga scene at that time. It was there was a website called vancouveryoga.com, which I don't know if you know, Ian Finn, a very well-known Canadian who just published a book. And he was a massive part of the Vancouver scene. Like his website, vancouveryoga.com, was where you went to daily to see what new thing was coming to town. We had Donafari coming to town, Shiva Ray. Like it was a moment in Vancouver's, and there wasn't the corporate, it was the little mom and pop studios around. And so this studio that I took the training in was one of these amazing mom and pop kind of studios. Took the teacher training, loved it, was good at it. And then she took me on as an apprentice, which you don't hear about that anymore. And so I did a year-long apprenticeship, which was the hardest thing ever. Maureen Frewer, she's now Maureen Ormond, amazing teacher of teachers, but she was strict on me. And I still have all the written assessments of Michael, you're saying this word too much. Michael, you're repeating this too much. Michael, that word is meaningless. It was like she just didn't want me teaching fluff. And so it was a really intense, but amazing year-long thing. And then I started teaching for her. And I started teaching beginners, which if for a yoga teacher out there that is learning to teach, beginners are the hardest, but the best, best place to start, because what you are saying and what they are doing may be two different things.
Yeah.
So it teaches you to see. Which I think is a big part of teaching. And
I love that you did this as an apprenticeship. Two of my three kids, one's currently in a carpentry apprenticeship. One other one did a millwright apprenticeship, and it makes sense.
So makes sense. My dad's a barber. My sister's a barber. They had apprentice barbers back in the day.
Right.
Yeah. But that's where the learning happened for me. And it's
Someone
what made me
saying, stop saying this word.
Yeah. And constantly, I probably still say those fluff words, I'm sure, but made me I feel that made me a really good teacher. Yeah. And I can say that confidently, that I feel like I'm a good teacher because of that.
So how did you move then from teaching yoga to running a yoga studio of your own?
Yeah. Well, so she decided lifestyle changed, and so she decided she didn't want the rent anymore, and so she downsized, and she renovated a basement studio and downsized, and so there was no studio around, and we were a bunch of probably 7 teachers with no work. I had my own graphics design company at the time, so that's what I was doing. I was running that and teaching in the evenings and weekends. So we had no place. The community was kind of displaced. I started teaching at a local gym, with a curtain in between. So a beginner 101 yoga course with a curtain in between the grunting gym people and me trying to run a class. So so I have empathy for everybody that's doing that and hustling all that. I've been there. And then the owner of the building where the space was, because it was upstairs in an office building, and the walls had been knocked out for the offices for this space. And so he was like, "Are you interested in it?" And I think it was, I know maybe $700 a month rent at that time. It was pretty good. And so I took it on, and unfortunately at the time, it wasn't all a great story because the owner of the studio was not happy with me doing that, and so that kind of created a bit of a tension there with me taking on all the teachers too, and
Right.
kind of same space. So that was a little bit of awkwardness there, but we're really good friends now. We got through it. We've got a huge respect for each other. But there's a lot of emotions in owning businesses, and that was one of those times. But we opened really well. With a marketing background, I knew how to buy. I knew what in newspapers at the time, 20 years ago, I knew what pages to buy, and went big with full pages, and knew how to negotiate with the local papers on getting good rates, and so I opened with a bang. I opened with a full studio, and a community, and some of those people, are still in that studio 21 years later, and so we successfully opened in that one location, but next door there was a beautiful 100-year-old heritage building that I always was looking at. I loved that building, and I knew the landlord, and so 6 months later, I had to try and get out of my lease because I wanted to go into this old building. So I had to do that because getting out of a lease is not easy when you've signed something for many years. I found my replacement. So I literally went to my landlord and say, "Hey, I found someone that would love my space. Can I get out of my lease?" And he let me. And so that was beautiful. The person came in, put walls back up. Landlord
Right.
was happy. And then, so within 6 months, I renovated 2 studios.
Wow.
And yeah, and so back in the day, IKEA used to sell flooring, and I was scrappy. We put our own flooring in, and the landlords help us build out this beautiful space with bay windows. And yeah, just an amazing place. And that became the home of open space yoga 6 months later. And I built it up into a beautiful, amazing community. I hired a lot of teachers, trained a lot of teachers, and I had that for 13 years, built it up to be a very profitable studio. I hired 2 coaches along the way that I think saved my businesses through a couple of recessions, and that really helped me. And then life changes. I sold my house, left my husband, and moved into Vancouver. So I had all of these. It was big changes, and then I was running my business, but I wasn't living there anymore. It became very difficult because there was a tunnel between where I lived and my studio, and so it was a little tough to, things like, the sidewalks need shoveling by law in the winter, but I'm not in that town anymore. So it came a little bit, hard to run it and sitting in tunnel traffic to teach. And so I had a conversation with one of my teachers, who I knew would be the perfect person, and that people loved, and it would be seamless. And so we started talking, and he ended up buying the studio from me. Um, he ran it beautifully. He kept it together through COVID. And I think one of the bonuses of him having me as coach during COVID at the time, I was still teaching there. And I was teaching at bold conferences, like Mind Body Bold conferences, on how to create community online. So I was really rocking the online teaching and teaching other studios how to do it, because it's a different science, it's a different art to teaching to a screen. And so yeah, we got through that period, after I sold it, and then he, um, through COVID, it was drained. It was very hard for him. And so he sold it to one of my other teachers that actually I hired probably 15 years ago through Craigslist. And so she's now, so it's still in existence. The legacy's still there 21 years later. And the community's still there. So Yeah, I no longer teach there. This is the first year in probably 26 years of teaching. I haven't taught this year for the first time in a long time, and my body's feeling it.
Oh my gosh. I love this so much in that you really have seen the yoga world change from, like,
Yeah,
when you were 7 and with your hippie mom, and it was a
yeah,
lot of, like, the internet didn't exist and yoga was just very different, to going to this extreme where we all just lived through this time where all we could do was gather online to do yoga
yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah.
Pretty wild. Um,
Yeah, I have seen, and and some people here that are at my age might remember the time when we didn't have software for running the studio. I literally had a punch pass, and we punched, and we had a Bible at the front desk that we tracked all the punches in, and I hired somebody to track the punches every single day.
oh, that's smart because we had punch passes at the first studio I managed, and, like, the end of the month is when we did it.
Uh,
Daily would have been way better,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
was
but
just like,
yay booking system software, yay OfferingTree.
this is a really good chance for us both to say, like, we both love OfferingTree. Tell me about what you're doing with them right now, with yoga studio owners.
Yeah, I love my partnership. So, I mean, we have a lot in common. We both have podcasts. We're both in Canada, and we're both partners with Offering Tree. And I love and value my partnership with them. First of all, they're good people,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of rare. There's a lot of businesses driven by money. They are driven by they care, and I love that they started in the solopreneur world, and now in the last year, I've kind of helped them a little bit, some a little bit of advising on it, but they've really gone deep into the studio world now. So I designed an offering tree intro offer sequence of emails. So they have automations now that's built in. And literally, you can click on my template, any of the templates that they've created, and there's your 3 week or 2 week intro offer sequence with all sorts of great triggers. For example, if people don't come in 2 days, an email goes out and say, "Hey, we get your ass on the mat." Uh, but it's great, and so that's the one side of it. And then I am the studio coach, I guess, group coach. And so so anybody that's on their studio plan gets to come into the offering tree. They have a separate network. That they also already have an amazing community on Facebook, but this is a separate, dedicated studio space, and it's a great conversation space. People can ask each other for support, but also the teams in there, myself included, and Sinead and Eddie, and the owners go in there and answer questions and help people out. But the highlight for me is twice a month, I get to go in and do group coaching with those folks. So they get free group coaching, which costs money if you're paying for it yourself. And so I think it's such great value. And we've seen such great successes from it. From really, it's not just a fluffy coaching session. Like, I'm pretty real. So I keep it really real. And everybody leaves with actionable tasks to get done for the next time we meet. So people are coming every week and sharing with their wins. And the beautiful thing is that right now they're doing a 30-day challenge for 2025. And so they're being supported online in the network. They're being supported in the group coaching, and then they've added all these extra Friday working sessions where they're doing how to do a landing page. So there are all these learning opportunities. So I just really feel that in the last year, they're really diving into support. Like it's not, and they're doing the work. It's not just, you know, then it's not just fluff. They're actually helping studios. We've helped Oside Yoga, Oside Power Yoga, Sylvia. We helped her do the whole pre-launch to her opening her studio.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was happening, and, like, I keep quite an eye on OfferingTree, so but I think I'm not always looking at what studios are doing. I'm looking so much at individual yoga teachers.
Yeah, it's great.
Connected yoga teachers, if you are interested in checking out OfferingTree because you want to create a website or a video library, or you want to have people able to pay for classes online, or if you are thinking, how can I manage class passes or registered series online or in person, we have a discount code for listeners. That's over at offeringtree.com/Shannon. Again, that's offeringtree.com/Shannon. Shannon is spelled SHANNON. Alrighty, let's get back to our chat with Michael J. Do you think that someone needs to have a business mindset? Because teaching yoga and loving yoga and wanting to share yoga is
Mm,
so different from running a yoga studio. Do you
yeah,
think
yeah.
anyone can do it? Do you think it requires like really having a business mindset? What are your thoughts on this?
I see it all. I mean, I really do see it all. But the teachers, it's usually the passionate teacher. Most teachers don't go into for business. They go in because they're serving. That's what I see. But then it goes, oh, holy shit, I got to pay the rent, or holy shit, I got to pay this, and oh, I've got payroll, and so it's very quickly a business. Yeah, so I think a lot of the case, I don't know. There's different ways people come into it, and I see every case. If you're not great at business, or you hire someone that is. It's the same with social media. If you are not good at running social media in your studio, get someone that is. So I feel like no matter if you're passionate about it, dial into your superpowers and get help on the things that you need help on.
Okay, that's brilliant. So we can do it because it
Yeah.
does require quite a business mindset. And
But you can learn it too,
right, right.
right? I have a studio in Australia. She's my Vanish, Yoga Spirit Studio. She's my longest client. She's probably with me almost 3 years. Passionate yoga teacher, purchased an existing studio, and she has learnt working with me how to be an excellent marketer. Like she's so good now. She's learned SEO. She's learned how to do landing pages. She's learned how to use Chat GPT for sales, you know, lingo. So I think this tool, if you learn to use the tool, I think it's all learnable, or you get help in the areas. Like, that's why I help people hire me, because they don't know how to run a yoga studio.
Yeah.
And it's a fast track when you get that help. But it's the wonderful world of the University of YouTube, where you can learn anything you want to. You want to learn how to do a meta ad? Go learn how to do a meta ad.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So for the teacher who's thinking, should I like if they're dreaming big and they're like, I just
Yeah.
know that I want to start a studio, what do you think are some of the considerations that maybe they haven't, or the questions they haven't asked themselves yet, or would help prepare them? Because it's quite a leap from like showing up to a
Yeah.
studio, someone else is doing the marketing. Maybe you're doing your own marketing, you're teaching like, whatever, 1 to 16 classes a week or whatever wild schedule you have going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's different ways of doing it. I mean, yesterday I had a conversation with somebody that wanted to talk to me about her yoga studio. But when I listened to her, she didn't have a yoga studio. She was running her business out of multiple locations. So there's different ways of doing it. I successfully ran, post selling my business, I rented a space downtown and successfully ran beginner yoga and beginner one-on-one yoga. And we can go over how I marketed those in a bit if you like. But so that was my business. I didn't have a studio, but I ran a successful. So there's definitely ways of doing. That's a great way to start. The other thing is, I think you should look into seeing, is there a need in the area? Because I see studios sometimes where they've done $300,000 build outs,
Wow.
And this is a very common thing happening right now. It's these massive hot yoga build outs, just really going for it, but putting them in an area that's got a lot of yoga studios and a lot of ClassPass going on in the area.
Right.
So you're setting yourself up there. Like, you have to, if your rent's $15,000, then you got to sell a lot of memberships. I mean, you're in business mode right away. You got to sell a lot of memberships just to cover that. And what's happening right now, I have an episode on my podcast, How to Break Up with ClassPass. ClassPass is eating into a lot of membership models. So that's something to really, really, really look at. But if I was going to say, there's the big studio build out, right? Which is great. I personally like a grassroots yoga studio like mine, where the rent is manageable and the payroll is manageable. So really it's overhead, because if you've got, $10,000 a month in rent, then, and you're in a saturated area, that's just very, very difficult. So looking for a need, I think, is a good, location is really key, I think. And I'm opening some great studio. I opened one, Somersoul in Ontario, and they opened with really great rent, really downtown location, and that space appeared to her. Sometimes there's if we're in the yoga woo woo world, sometimes spaces manifest. And so I believe in following those meant to be's when they present themselves, because I see that a lot. Did I answer that? I'm not sure. I feel
You
like I'm
did.
rambling there.
Well, I love how it's kind of like, what is the baby step? So it might be that we're teaching from different spaces and we're sort of running our own business, that we're not, what I heard you say, we're not relying on someone else to like
Yeah.
do all the business side of it. Unless
Yeah.
you're like, I
Well,
don't
I
want to.
mean, so what I said when I ran my programs downtown, that was, I knew my overhead. I rented this amazing dance space on the top floor downtown Vancouver with a view of the city on Saturday morning. And I was able to fill a need in that area. And it's a heavily gay male populated area, downtown Vancouver. And I did yoga for men for 8 weeks, and I had really great rent. I walked around the area, Yoga for Men with Michael J, with a QR code that went to a landing page for Yoga for Men, where it was easy to purchase. And then I did some meta ads around 2 kilometers around, we're in Canada here, not miles, 2 kilometers around the yoga studio, just to men within these demographics. And I filled that every time. So I call that a signature series. You can run a very, very good business with a signature series.
This is where I like feel like that was my bread and butter when I learned like,
Yeah.
okay, my niche is yoga for pelvic health. And
Yeah.
I ran an 11-week series, which meant, I just didn't have to market as much because I was like, sign up for the 11 weeks. And I remember getting 18 people signing up. I had a wait list. And I just thought, this is it.
Well, first of all, I love series. And also, if there are studio owners listening here, I like series on a schedule that has a variable, with the unlimited passes. But series, this is for solo teachers listening here too. Series create community. It's all the same people together. Series is pay up front. You're not waiting for them to use that punch pass, right? And there's no refunds.
Right.
Clearly stated up front. And if you learn how to market that series really well, and then it's rinse and repeat. So for a studio, what I did really, really well, and now I have all of my studios doing really, really well, is a signature series of beginner 101 yoga. Honestly, folks, listen, beginner 101 anything.
Right.
That's the doorway. A lot of studios have a 2-week intro, or I think of a beginner 101 course as another doorway into a studio.
It makes sense because it is scary to be a new student and be like, I'm going to go with all
Super,
these. Yeah, it's intimidating.
super.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beginner
Okay.
101. You don't need to know anything. By the end of this course, you're going to feel comfortable to take any class on our schedule.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Okay.
Yeah. And once you've done that beginner 101 series, then you can rinse and repeat it. So I rinse and repeat it 3 times a year, sold 30 spots in it 3 times a year. And I've got, like I said, Vanny in Australia, she has a 70% retention rate from her intro offer over over a beginner course over her intro offer,
That's amazing.
because it makes people feel comfortable. And then I'll throw this extra tip. If you do a series like that, if you're on OfferingTree, you can support that series with a whole bunch of automated emails to support the journey,
Right.
right? Week 1, here's a video on yoga breathing to practice this week. Week 4, here's sun salutations. Here's a handout to practice at home, or a video, right? You support them through that journey, and you're not selling to them. But you also give them the visual of, this is the trick, folks. This is sales. While you're teaching an 8-week series, you're also giving them the visual of what it's like to attend your studio in the
Right.
future. So when you come to our class, you'll be able to go to the slow flow, or you see that in,
Oh my gosh,
and then
I
people
love
can
that.
see themselves as part of your studio.
This is bringing back memories to, like, I taught a beginner 101 series, and at the time, I feel like there was no social media. I'm sounding really old. And there definitely wasn't like an email sequence. It was printouts that we gave them
Yeah.
at the
But
end to take
yeah,
home. But that's so much
yeah.
better when you can get a quick email like, "Hey, here's a little thing that you could do at home before we meet up." And oh, I
Well, and
love that.
also they get used to, because, marketing emails, they get used to emails of value and not selling,
Yep.
right? So they're more likely to open it and keep with it. So it's like
So true.
value, 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 sell. Value, 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 sell.
Yeah. And those are the emails where if someone's, the best case scenario is someone's like, "Oh my gosh, we did this really fun pose or this cool breath practice at yoga and I loved it." And then you end up sharing it with your friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
also for the folk that think that's intimidating to create all those, you actually don't have to create it in advance. The best way to do it is teach a class and then create a follow-up email
Right.
based on that class, and then you build your automation sequence as you go along. So it takes away a
Love
lot of
it.
the, yeah.
And then you rinse and repeat. Love it.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah.
Okay, how many classes do you think should be in a series? Like mine was extreme with 11. I was just like, I'm not marketing hardly at all.
Was
I'll
it
do this
once a
twice a
week?
year. What's that?
Was it once a week?
Yeah, it was.
Well, you have to do your homework to people's availability. So
Right.
online's a little bit different, but if you're doing it in person, so every October I have my studio owners all come together and we group plan 2025, or the next
Okay.
year. Right. So I think it's important to know your audience and their lifestyle. So if you're putting a series on, you're probably not going to put a registered series on in spring break or summer.
No.
Like, it's just not going to hit. Right. So, so I say, how many weeks can you squeeze so you don't have to sell
Between.
multiple days? So I would say, 6, 8, 12,
Right.
up to, January through to spring break, you could create something. I like an 8-weeker though.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to encourage our yoga teachers and studios. Let's try these registered series and talk to us about class passes then because they're everywhere.
Like ClassPass, the actual
Yeah,
ClassPass,
like do you think we should
Mind
get
Body
rid of
ClassPass.
this? That's where we lost money as a studio. I remember that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting conversation, and so it's tough. It's a really tough one because everybody's on it, and so right now, I'm confessing here. I hate ClassPass for a business. Right now, I'm testing ClassPass out. So I am actually a ClassPass person right now in Vancouver, and I'm looking to see how it's worked. So there's a few things. I think ClassPass makes it almost impossible to build a membership model because it's about the math. And let me talk about my partner in LA. He was dating studios, so he was trying to find a home, right? So he used ClassPass just to date studios to see which place fits.
Yeah.
And it's been a really interesting experience for him, like but it comes down to the money. Like, so he went to one studio. He's like, this is the home. This is it. I found everything I want. It's got community. It's got the kind of workout I want. But then the offer came because I was like, you're going to be in an automation. Don't jump to the first offer. Wait till the end of your sequence because you're going to get the best offer at the end, right? Well, the best offer was, I think, $225 a month. And he felt that's high, but he felt value because it worked for him. But it was going to cost him $79 to get the same amount of classes using ClassPass.
Oh, wow.
So the math don't math.
This is what happens.
Right. And for the studios, they're probably getting $7 a person.
Yeah.
Right. So they're probably getting $7 a person. Now, here's the thing, when you go into ClassPass dashboard, when I log into my clients' accounts, when you go into the ClassPass dashboard, it presents it as, we created this money generation, we saved you this many clients, we brought in this revenue. Like, it's all very positive. But then you go into the booking software, which I always do with my clients, and I look at visits after first visit.
Yeah.
ClassPass 0.000000000. So here's the thing: ClassPass people are ClassPass people. They will 90% not convert.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So their mentality is, and that generation that's loving it, and that I'm testing right now, their thing is, I can get Pilates in today. I can get my nails done tomorrow. I can go get a HIIT class on Thursday and a spin on Sunday. So they like the variety. It's great for that.
Right.
The other thing, watch the points. I think I'm pretty sure they're gamified.
Okay.
Right? So when you're on the trial, classes are like 2 points.
Okay.
When you're a member, 7, 9, 12 points. Right? Then the other thing, I have a friend in LA that has a membership through an insurance benefit. So there's a plan through the benefit that they have. It's supposed to be a better deal. So it's a cheaper deal. But when booking into the same class, that person that's got the cheaper deals, it's more points for the class than the person on the regular membership.
Oh my gosh.
So it's tough. So here's the thing though. It's good for marketing.
Right. Okay.
Right.
There is a benefit.
There's a benefit to marketing because so there's a Legree. I've wanted to try Legree. And so I've got this ClassPass. Legree is on ClassPass. It's on there, but there is never an opening. There is never anything. But I know there's a Legree there because I see it on the app all the time.
What's Legree?
Legree, it's like a Pilates. It's a machine equipment based.
Okay.
Legree, yeah, it's really taking off in the States, and it's huge. Yeah, Sebastian Legree.
Okay. It's named after someone.
Yeah. He created this piece of equipment, and then it's like a reformer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, you want to try this class, but
so it's on my ClassPass listed. So I'm seeing it, which is good marketing, getting it in front of eyeballs.
Okay.
But that never opens up for a class. So
Oh,
yeah, so I think if you're going to do it, you need to really, really, really manage it and just open up maybe a couple of really crappy classes, or, maybe a 6 a.m. class, or just so it's there, but you're
right.
not opening it. But yeah, it's a really catch-22 thing. I don't think it's good for the membership industry.
If you were starting with a studio that's like, okay, there's not a ton of competition
Yeah,
in the area, and you're going to set them up with a payment model,
yeah.
ideal situation, what would it be?
Is it a studio, like a regular studio? What do you mean by
Various
payment
teachers.
model? So like how to
Like,
pay
would there
or
be
the actual
registered
price?
sessions? Would there be a
Uh,
membership model?
yeah, I'd probably go membership model with a registered series. I'd have 2 or 3 registered series. Series solve problems,
Right. Oh, yes.
right? So yoga for back care, yoga for low back pain, yoga
Prenatal
for
yoga.
aging and mobility. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like there's a problem to it. So
Okay.
that
I love
I
that.
feel like they're easier to market, honestly.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
But learn
let's
how to do a dedicated landing page for your series. No matter if
oh,
you're a
that's
solo
great.
person, like do a dedicated landing page for that. It's sales copy for that
Yeah.
series. Right.
Yeah.
I'll say the same for studio intro offer. Dedicated sales page for the intro offer. Because then when you market, whether it's a QR code on a poster, a postcard QR code on a postcard, or a paid ad, you only have to send them one place.
Love it.
And then that landing page's job is only to do one thing, sell one thing.
Right.
So there's one call to action. You're not going and poking through everybody's teachers and
The
the
schedule and getting
schedule and the this and that. This
right.
dedicated sales page for the program or intro offer does one thing.
Oh, that's such a good tip. Okay. What about I get this question all the time. I want to hear your answer on it. When people are like, well, I don't know what times are going to work for the people in my community. Should it be on weekends? Should
Yeah,
it be at
yeah,
night? Like,
yeah,
what, you just have this blank slate of a calendar
yeah,
in front of you, and you're like, I want to pick the times that are going to be the
yeah.
best.
Well, the truth is that you've got it's like throwing it at the wall first time to see if it sticks, really. Um, but the best thing you can do is do as much research on the ideal client in that neighborhood that wants your product. So I say audience research first. And so I'll give a good example of that. I opened West Park Yoga in California. I worked with them for a year, so I have to preface it with that. Not many people hire me for a whole year before opening. But what I'm known for is the pre-sale because of the marketing background. And so 90% of the studios have opened covering costs on opening day. And I think the reason for that is doing the research on first of all, you need to know what your mission, vision, and values are. That's super, like, you got to be clear on that. And if you're not, go to the University of YouTube, research mission, vision, values, right? And so I think you need to know who you are and what you're serving and what you're about. And then if you can figure that out, and then you figure out the community around you and what do they need and what's their life like, right? So if you truly know your audience, I'll give an example of one of my audiences. I knew really, really well in my area I had my studio. My most popular class was slow flow class at 11 o'clock. I got 30 people in every week. And I knew that audience they were retired. They were not on the alarm clock in the morning. They meandered into their 11 o'clock class where they met their friends, or became friends there. And then they went for lunch together afterwards.
Oh my
And
gosh, I
so,
love
so
this.
I knew, and I
Yeah.
knew if they liked my class on Tuesday, if I put somebody else on Thursday at that same time slot, that they would get in a rhythm of Tuesday, Thursday, weekend.
Right. And you wouldn't put hot vinyasa flow as the
Yeah. So I
Thursday.
think you've got to, I mean, first of all, look around your area. It depends what model you do. If you're doing a register only model, then you've got to find the best time that type of person is available to put that time slot on. But if you're doing a yoga studio, you've got to have variety. And so you've got to have if it's a membership model, you've got to have a certain amount of classes to be valuable to people to get in. So I say on a community level, at least 2 morning classes, 2 evening classes, and a couple of classes on the mornings and the weekend. You're looking at about 18 to 24 to start, I would say, is a good kind of. But if okay, so most of the people in this area are moms. Okay, so they're dropping their kids off at school. So 9:30 works well. Well, there you are. I've got my 9:30 class for that person. And then I've got my 11 o'clock class for the retired person. The other thing when I design my schedule and when I help studios do that, I think having something for each type of there's 2 types of people. There's high energy and low energy, really, right? And so I think if you have something for everybody to choose, and so in the evening, a hatha flow or vinyasa flow, and then a slow flow,
right,
or a core yoga, and so
then a restorative.
And the other thing I can't so for mine, I knew the lifestyle. I told you I was on the other side of a tunnel,
right,
and so my people either worked on my side or they had to get through the tunnel in tunnel traffic. Right. So I alternated my start times in the evening. So 5:30 one day, 6 o'clock the next day, 5:30 the next day. And so that gave me a 5:30 and a 7, a 6 and a 7:30. Right. And so that's how you start.
Love it so much.
And then find out what the crap night is in your area. And that's when you put your registered series on. So crap night in Canada might be hockey night.
Right.
Back in my day when I had my studio Thursday night, it was Friends, Seinfeld. I mean, everything was on Thursday night, right? And so, that was beginner 101 yoga, because you got the people that were not watching Friends and Seinfeld.
That's funny. That's so true. Oh my gosh, this is such good information. I could literally talk to you for so long about this. What do you think are some of the huge things that studio owners get hit with, that if they kind of prepared a little bit more ahead of time, they could save themselves a lot of headache?
Planning out your whole year. And by that, I mean, I've got one right here. I've got a big ass calendar that I scribble on. And when I get together with my studio owners in every October, we scribble over all these calendars before going digital. So researching the lifestyle of the people in your area. When are they in town? Do they disappear at spring break? Do they disappear in summer? So knowing the cycles, researching the cycles of the people in your area is a big one. Researching the existing things that are already on in town. I had a quilt and car show on my street every August. You better believe I had my fall stuff ready for that event. So being ahead of the game, I feel like a lot of studio owners are in reactionary mode a lot. So, it's like, oh, this class isn't doing well, so I pull it. Or so I like people to plan ahead. I know that can be difficult. So rough planning out the whole year, but then taking a quarter, 3 months at a time. And if you're putting a schedule on, commit to that schedule for 3 months. Commit to those teachers for 3 months, and their salaries, right? And then assess and make changes. But I see a lot of studio owners being really reactionary. A class is on, pulling a class, canceling a class 2 hours before it's supposed to be on. and then on the schedule it says cancelled. So I see a lot of reactionary thing. So I like to help them get way ahead of that. So, like planning ahead, like all of your promotions, and not putting a sale on for the sake of everybody else is putting a sale on. If you know the cycles, put a sale on at low sales times, not because everybody's doing it at, Black Friday.
Such a good point.
So I think just getting ahead. I just really think just
yeah. Oh,
getting
that's such a good
ahead. Yeah.
point. I was thinking about all the events that are happening in our area that people could really be
Yes.
part
Well,
of.
and then also, I have everybody get 6 to 8 weeks ahead of everything. That means you're ready to promote 6 weeks ahead, which means you're creating it 8 weeks ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can't that is what it takes. And I wonder if marketing takes longer now with how busy people are with the internet and social media.
I love marketing now. I just think there's never been a better time for an independent business whether a solo practitioner or a studio. There's never been a better time. In my day, I was buying ads in newspapers, right? That's what we did. It was expensive. And so now I say marketing's money or effort or
right.
combination of. So effort, I'll give a good example of effort. Effort's getting in front of eyeballs, new eyeballs. That's marketing,
Yeah.
right? So I get people to be scrappy on that. I love digital, love, love, love digital, but I also love grassroots marketing. And so, in LA, I go to the Rose Bowl for a walk, and a lot of fitness related people do that. I pulled up into this parking area, and on the tree in front of me was new studio intro offer QR code. I'm like,
Right.
you just got in front of my eyeballs, right?
Right.
Fitness related people, healthy, and that was scrappy, right?
There's a local health fair in our area, and I remember getting
Yeah.
so many new people coming up because you're just answering questions about yoga.
Yeah.
And people
Research what's already existing. That's what a lot of people
yeah.
don't do. There's a lot. If you're a yoga teacher, is there a 5K run? You can do the pre-stretch too,
Right.
right? It's like those things are already existing. You just got to tap into that, right?
Yes.
But what I will say is try and find the things that are around. And if there's nothing, create your own party,
Right.
right? So I, my when I had my studio, my charity of choice was hospice. We raised $40,000 for my local hospice. I was affected by hospice, by the way hospice treated my mum when she was passing. And so it was important to me. I sat on the board at the hospice for 5 years. Became vice president. It was very important to me. So when I did fundraising for that event for hospice, people showed up. And so I created every November, third week of November, a pre-Christmas shopping event. It was shopping day for hospice. For 10 years, I ran that. It became a thing. Local potters donated pottery. 100% of the money went to pottery. I'm
Wow.
wearing a piece of Sonia Picard jewelry right now. She's a friend of mine, yoga jeweler. She used to come and sell her jewelry, and 20% of the sales went to hospice. We had 20% of our sales on that day went to hospice. So we had vendors we have a space. You've got a space. So use it, right? So we created this amazing space where I had to let my shoe policy go twice a year.
Right.
For the betterment of the community.
Oh my gosh, I
But I
love
created
that.
my own party that was pre-Christmas. It did good in the community, but it also became a part of the community. And so, if this tap into the things that are already existing, like I said, we had the Quilt and Car Show, weird show that was brilliant, but the street with old cars, and then all the shop windows had quilts in it. We were the only large walls in the space, so the antique and oversized quilts came on with thousands of people through the studio on that day. So that was like, if I didn't have my fall beginner course and all of my promotions ready that day, that was just something I tapped into. And, I negotiated with the vendor, we wanted to put our our tent right outside, so that there was a direct path into the studio. And so either tap into your own or create your own party, your own market, your own farmers market. That's your world, Shannon.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting
Right?
very inspired over here, like thinking like,
Yeah.
ooh, this, that.
Well,
Yeah.
there was a mall across the street from us, and it was a private mall, and we created a market in there.
Love
Because
it.
if it's a private little mall, you don't need street clothes, you just don't need police, you just need the permission of the mall owner. And so, a Saturday farmers market, and you know, those things bring people to the community and around you, and you do good in the community, and you get known for doing good in the community.
Okay, so back in the day, I used to have a farmer's market, like for 5 years, a physical
Of
farmer's
course you
market,
did.
and I sold yoga. I had little cards with yoga. I mean, this is before websites, and
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
an email list, maybe. Like, I didn't have a website.
yeah.
I don't know if people were even
I
checking my
sold hemp and bamboo t-shirts on the local market the first couple of years of being open, and I had my yoga brochures there.
So smart. Okay. So look for existing things or create a party if there isn't already one. Wow. If our connected yoga teachers are going to have more questions about like how to open a studio. One, we can have you back on the podcast, send your questions in, post in the comments, but also how do they connect with you if they're like, I want to do this? Where should they go first?
Well, first free resource is my podcast, Yoga Biz Champ, which is rocking conversations with studio owners, existing studio owners, or experts in the industry. And so, kind of like you, Shannon, it's just me, just like wanting to know everything and soaking up all that information. So, Yoga Biz Champ, I think that's my best free resource out there, which you're coming on very soon. Thank you. And then anybody can meet with me for free. So go to yogabizchamp.com /book, and you can book a free chat with me. That's the easiest way. I have 2 packages. I'm very simple. I yoga only. I don't do a lot of my fellow counterparts are boutique fitness, and I know yoga. I know the yoga world. I'm a yoga teacher. I don't pretend to know anything about Pilates and all the other things. So I speak the language. And I have 2 coaching packages. They're 6 months long. One is Start a Yoga Studio, which I really truly believe is a fast track, and it really helps with pre-sales, founders membership offers. And I have existing studios. It's Grow a Yoga Studio package. And my packages meet weekly. We meet weekly, which I believe in that accountability. And they all come with email support, a ticket support system, and an incredibly simple project management system where we assign tasks and move tasks through. And I know that you're a big fan of moving tasks on project boards, Shannon.
I am. You know me well.
But honestly, that's how things get moved, right? It's like my coach right now is a project manager, and a project sometimes sits here at the back of the head as this big thing that never moves forward. But if you break it down into all the little tasks that need to get done, and you meet to the tasks, that's how we get stuff done.
It's true, and that, like, weekly accountability can really move you
Yeah.
along if you're like, "Oh, shoot, like, I've had this really tough week of trying to fill classes and try to do all the things of life, and, oh, but I have to meet my group and I need to get my homework done." It really can help.
It does help. And, I have to say, coaching is, a lot of my counterparts are all about the numbers.
Yeah.
And I believe in the numbers. The data doesn't lie. I love the numbers, and they're great for setting goals. But I feel like my coaching style is also sometimes I cry with my studio owners. Running a studio is not always easy. And there's challenges. We have challenges. It's a people business. We have challenges with students. We have challenges with teachers. We have stress of finances. So honestly, I feel like I'm part of my studio owner's team, because I'm very, very much care, and I take on, a lot of, the stress that they have. So I like the weekly for that because, not every week I'm meeting them, they're, happy. It's, so we can course correct quickly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's so nice to be in a space where other people understand what you're going through.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is one of the things I think, marketing background, but actually being a teacher, running a studio, I understand all the, I've been through most of the things. And if I haven't myself, I have with my clients.
Yeah.
And so I've learned from that.
Oh my gosh, what a gift. Thank you. We'll link to your website, your podcast.
Yeah.
And like I said to our listeners, if you have more questions, we'll just invite Michael J back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this today. This has been really inspiring.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. I really enjoy you. I really get along with you, and I think you're just doing great stuff in the world, and you're having some great conversations that are important right now. And so I appreciate what you're doing.
Wow, what a great conversation. I always love chatting with Michael because he brings so much experience and practical advice, along with this real excitement for the business side of yoga and studios. We covered a lot today. How Michael got started, what he's doing now with OfferingTree to support yoga studios, which I loved. Make sure to check that out. You can check that out by reaching out to the team over at OfferingTree, offeringtree.com. We also covered some really smart strategies for making your yoga business sustainable. I'm so curious what your key takeaways were for this episode. I hope it gave you some ideas. I hope maybe you got thinking about what would your signature series be, a registered series, and then also making plans ahead so you're not just in reaction mode. I've worked with so many studios and teachers myself that I get this. They're like, wait, I saw the studio down the road doing this thing, and now I feel like I should do this thing, and it's really last minute. So I think that's my key takeaway from this episode. And you heard me in the episode getting excited about, for some of you, you might not know this, but I'll tell you here and now if you haven't heard this, I'm really looking at opening a small farmer's market here on my little piece of land that I have, which is quite small. It's not like I have a farm or anything. I have a backyard that I've changed into a vegetable garden over the years. And I'm really looking at how to sell, plants and veggies and seeds, and also get people connecting with nature. And when I look at this, I can see what Michael's saying for yoga studios. You have this idea, you have this inspiration, and then you want to put it out into the world, and you need some planning behind you. You need to look at the calendar and look at the year. So that's got me really thinking about that. And I would look at it, if you're thinking about your yoga business or opening a yoga studio, what is happening in the year? What's happening for potential yoga students? What's our challenges in the seasons that we live in our own area? One example of this is I used to run a hibernation yoga series in the winter because I really struggled with winter. And I attracted other people to those classes who also, both struggled with winter but embraced hibernating. And that was a really fun series to run as well. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts and your ideas. If you want to share those in the show notes, that's over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/393. Or if you're thinking, well, I want to have more of a conversation about this, you can either leave us a voice message and tell us what inspired you in this episode. You can do that from our website, theconnectedyogateacher.com. Or you can have a conversation with other yoga teachers in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group. And you can also join that from our homepage. That's the easiest way to direct you there. Thank you so much for listening along today. Thank you again, Michael, for bringing all of this information to our ears so that we could listen on the go. Also, if you found this episode helpful, share it with a fellow yoga teacher or a studio owner who might need to hear some of these messages. Thank you again for being here, and I will definitely look forward to seeing you when we release our next episode. Oh, I also can give you a quick update. If you've been following along, Previous 2 episodes, I talked about my concussion recovery, what I'm experiencing right now with concussion. Last episode, episode 392, I really got into how yoga is helping me and also physio. And so I wanted to share that with you. And I'll just give you a quick update that all of the things that the physio got me to do are working. She still wants me to take it easy, but some of my homework is now on a screen. So that's good. I have some more time to work on podcasts and finding guests. And if you are feeling like, hey, Shannon, I really have a topic right now that will help yoga teachers, you can check out our website on how to apply as a podcast guest. It really helps if you've listened to the podcast, if you've gotten to know me and you've gotten to know our topics, and then you have something where you're like, this is information I could have used a while ago as a yoga teacher, or this is information that's going to be really helpful for yoga teachers or studios, entrepreneurs, business owners. Then you can go to our website, theconnectedyogateacher.com, and under podcasts, you can see where you can apply as a guest and be part of things over here. Also, you can check out the show notes and leave a review for us if you're enjoying the podcast. We'd love to hear from you about that, or you can share it on social media. We love it when yoga teachers are sharing on social media and tagging us. Thank you so much if you've ever done that. That's huge in the podcast world. Okay. Thank you also to our team over here who brings this podcast to life each week. And thank you, dear listener. You really are the heart of this podcast, and I'm so grateful for the time that you've spent hanging out here today, listening and learning together. And as usual, I want to close out with a question. What will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?